Ambassador Sujin Park walked through the massive doors of the Grand Galactic Council chamber. Her black uniform carried Earth's symbol, a simple blue planet on white fabric. Behind her, her aide Min-Jun Choi carried a data tablet filled with reports and numbers. They had prepared for this meeting for weeks. The chamber was enormous. Hundreds of seats rose in circles around a central platform. Representatives from 47 different species filled those seats. Some looked like insects. Others resembled plants or crystals. A few could have passed for human at a distance, but their skin colors ranged from deep purple to bright orange. Sujin took her assigned seat in the outer ring. Earth's position had always been there, far from the center where the oldest and most powerful species sat. She had never complained about it. Earth had joined the galactic community only 200 years ago. They were still learning. "This emergency session begins now," announced Thexal, the council leader. He was Vraxian, a species that looked like a 7-foot-tall lizard wrapped in expensive robes. "We gather to discuss the restructuring of treaty obligations." Sujin listened carefully as Thexal explained the proposal. The elder species wanted to change how the council worked. Younger species like humanity would have less voting power. They would also pay more tribute to support council operations. "This is necessary for efficiency," Thexal said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "We must acknowledge that experience matters. Species who have guided the galaxy for thousands of years should have greater authority." A Karathi representative stood. The Karathi looked like walking mantises made of metal. "Humanity, in particular, has benefited greatly from our guidance. When we found Earth, your people faced extinction from solar radiation. We saved you. We gave you faster-than-light travel. We welcomed you to the stars." Sujin felt Min-Jun tense beside her. She placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Stay calm," the gesture said. "Perhaps it is time," the Karathi continued, "for humanity to show proper gratitude. Accept your place. Serve those who lifted you up." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not from everyone, but from enough representatives to make Sujin's jaw tighten. She activated her microphone. "May I present information about Earth's contributions over the past 2 centuries?" "That won't be necessary," Thexal said dismissively. "We are all aware of Earth's activities." "But the data shows—" "Ambassador Park," Thexal's voice grew sharp. "We elevated your species from primitives playing with chemical rockets. Your military protects nothing we could not protect ourselves. Your diplomatic efforts are naive interference in matters beyond your understanding. Your technology is simply copying what better minds invented first." More laughter. Louder this time. A Xinthian representative, looking like a floating jellyfish in a water tank, spoke up. "Perhaps the humans mean well. But meaning well is not the same as being useful. They are enthusiastic children. We should treat them kindly, but we should not pretend they are our equals." Sujin felt something cold settle in her chest. She had worked with the Xinthians. Human doctors had saved 3 Xinthian colonies from plague just last year. And this was how they saw that work? As children playing doctor? She tried again. If the council would examine the detailed reports, enough. Thexal cut her off. "Your objection is noted and dismissed. We will now vote on the restructuring proposal. All in favor?" Sujin watched as 47 hands, tentacles, appendages, and glowing crystals signaled agreement. Only 3 voted against: the Scythian, the Tellurians, and the Dorathi. Small species who had always been kind to humanity. "The measure passes," Thexal declared. "Earth is hereby designated a protectorate species. You will accept increased obligations and reduced representation. You should be grateful we allow you to remain on this council at all." The chamber filled with the sounds of approval, clicking, humming, and chirping from dozens of alien species who agreed that humanity needed to be put in its place. Min-Jun whispered urgently, "Ambassador, We should protest. We should— No, Sujin said quietly. She stood up, and her microphone activated automatically. The chamber grew silent, curious about what the human would say. I want to thank the council, Sujin said. Her voice was perfectly calm. You have clarified your perspective on humanity's place in galactic civilization. Earth will respond to this decision within 24 hours. Thexal laughed. There is nothing to respond to, Ambassador. The decision is made. Accept it gracefully. Oh, we will accept it, Sujin assured him. We accept that you see us as primitive children. We accept that you view our contributions as worthless. We accept that you want us to know our place. She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. And we will respond accordingly. She gathered her materials and walked toward the exit. Minjun followed, confused but trusting her judgment. They're bluffing, she heard someone say behind her. What can Earth possibly do? Leave the council? They would be destroyed without our protection. More laughter followed Sujin out of the chamber. In the hallway, she finally stopped walking. Minjun caught up to her, breathing hard. Ambassador, what are we going to do? We're going to give them exactly what they asked for, Sujin said. We're going to know our place. I don't understand. They think they saved us. They think they gave us everything. They believe we contribute nothing of value. Sujin pulled out her communication device. It's time to show them what nothing actually looks like. You mean— we're going home, Minjun. All of us. Every human diplomat, every human doctor, every human engineer, every human teacher, everyone. She began typing a message to Earth's government. If we're worthless children, then the galaxy won't miss us when we leave. They'll change their minds when they see we're serious. Perhaps. Sujin sent the message. Or perhaps they'll learn an important lesson about taking people for granted. Either way, humanity is done begging for respect we should have been given freely. Behind them, the council chamber continued its business. Representatives congratulated themselves on putting the upstart humans in their proper place. None of them noticed the small Scythian scientist, Dr. Kelva, watching the human ambassador leave with worry in her large eyes. Kelva had worked with human researchers. She knew what they contributed. She knew what the galaxy was about to lose. But she was only one voice, and she had not been brave enough to speak up in that chamber. She wondered if anyone would listen before it was too late. Prime Minister Ji-woo Kim stood before Earth's Global Assembly. Representatives from every nation watched her on screens that circled the chamber. Her face was stern, but her eyes showed the anger she kept carefully controlled. They called us primitives, she said quietly. They dismissed 200 years of service. They laughed at our contributions. They voted to make us servants in everything but name. She pulled up a holographic display. Numbers and charts filled the air above the assembly floor. Let me show you what they dismissed so casually. We have 42,000 doctors and medical specialists working across the galaxy. They staff 40% of all frontier hospitals. We have 18,000 engineers maintaining critical infrastructure on 200 worlds. We have 12,000 peacekeepers preventing conflicts in disputed territories. We have 8,000 agricultural specialists who have prevented famine on dozens of planets. The numbers kept growing. Teachers, researchers, diplomats, rescue workers, search and rescue teams, disaster response units, trade negotiators, technical advisors. In total, Ji-woo said, we have 120,000 humans working outside our solar system. They volunteered for these positions. They left Earth to help build a better galaxy. And yesterday, the galaxy told them they are worthless. Angry voices filled the chamber. Representatives from Brazil, Kenya, Korea, Canada, India, and every other nation demanded action. Ji-woo raised her hand for silence. I propose we terminate every treaty, every agreement, every obligation that binds Earth to the Galactic Council. Effective immediately. We recall every human serving off-world. We close our borders. We take care of our own people and let the galaxy manage without us. They'll see it as an act of war, someone warned. It's not war, Jiwoo replied. It's withdrawal. We're not attacking anyone. We're not seizing assets. We're simply leaving. If our contributions are worthless, they won't miss us. The vote was unanimous. Within 3 hours, every human ambassador across the galaxy received the same message. At exactly the same moment, they all delivered identical statements to their host governments. Sujin Park stood before Thexal in his private office. She had requested this meeting immediately after receiving Earth's orders. Earth hereby terminates all treaties with the Galactic Council, she announced formally. All 847 primary treaties, all 2,163 secondary agreements, all voluntary cooperation programs, effective immediately. Thexal stared at her. You cannot be serious. We are absolutely serious. We are also recalling all human personnel serving outside Earth's solar system. We estimate the evacuation will take 72 hours. This is madness. You're committing economic suicide. Perhaps, Sujin said calmly, but it's our choice to make. You wanted us to know our place. Our place is home, taking care of our own people. You're overreacting to a simple administrative restructuring. No, Council Leader. We're reacting appropriately to being called worthless primitives who should be grateful for scraps from your table. Sujin placed a data chip on his desk. That contains documentation of every treaty we're terminating and every program we're ending. I wish you well. She turned and walked out. Behind her, she heard Thexal shouting for his advisors. The same scene played out across the galaxy. Shocked alien leaders received termination notices from calm human ambassadors. Most laughed it off. Humans were bluffing. They would come crawling back within days. Admiral Yoon Tae-hyun commanded Earth's evacuation fleet. 300 ships spread across the galaxy, collecting human personnel. The operation was peaceful, but absolute. Every human, every piece of human equipment, everything that belonged to Earth was coming home. Dr. Sarah Chen supervised the medical evacuation. She stood in the hospital on Vraxia Prime, where she had worked for 8 years. Her staff of 40 human doctors and nurses packed their equipment. Dr. Chen, please, begged her Vraxian colleague. The children's ward needs you. We have 50 patients who require specialized care. Then I hope you learned something while working beside us, Sarah said sadly. I'm sorry, but we have our orders. You'll have to manage without us. We don't know how. You never taught us. We tried, Sarah corrected him. Every day we tried to teach you, but you always said you would learn later. You said there was no rush because we would always be here. She closed her medical bag. There's a rush now. Similar conversations happened everywhere. On space stations where human engineers maintained life support, on agricultural colonies where human specialists optimized crops, on trade routes where human peacekeepers kept pirates away, the aliens reacted with confusion, then dismissal, then growing concern. On the 3rd day, the last human ship left Karathi space. The Karathi military commander watched it go. Good riddance, he muttered. We never needed them anyway. His communications officer looked worried. Sir, our long-range communication relays are showing errors. The human technicians always handled maintenance. Get our own technicians to fix it. Sir, we tried. The system is more complex than we thought. The humans were compensating for a design flaw in real time. Without them, the whole network might collapse. Then fix the design flaw. We don't know how. We never learned because the humans always handled it. That same realization was spreading across the galaxy. Systems that seemed automatic were only automatic because humans had been quietly maintaining them. Services that seemed simple were actually complex, and humans had made them look easy. Dr. Kelva sat in her laboratory on Scythene Prime. She tried to recreate a human vaccine for a disease that was starting to spread in the frontier colonies. She had watched human doctors make it dozens of times. It looked simple. It wasn't simple. Every attempt failed. The formula required intuition and experience she didn't have. Humans had shared their knowledge freely, but sharing and truly understanding were different things. She sent a message to Earth, asking for help. The reply came back within hours. The Scythian have always been friends to humanity. We will gladly continue our cooperation with you. However, we can no longer provide services to species who consider us worthless. We hope you understand. Kelva did understand. She also understood that people were going to die because the galaxy had been too proud to show simple respect. On Unity 7, the Grand Council met in emergency session. Thexal demanded that Earth return and fulfill their obligations. Sujin's response was broadcast across the galaxy. We have no obligations. You terminated them when you demoted us to Protectorate status. You made it clear that our service was worthless, so we stopped serving. This is what you wanted, is it not? For us to know our place? Our place is Earth. Yours is out there. Good luck. The broadcast ended. Earth's communication channels went silent, except for direct diplomatic contact with the 3 species who had voted against the restructuring. In the council chamber, representatives looked at each other with growing unease. This wasn't supposed to happen. The humans were supposed to accept their place and continue serving. That was how it always worked. But humanity had done something no one expected. They had walked away, and the galaxy was about to learn exactly how much it had depended on people it claimed to value so little. 2 months passed. The galaxy learned what absence meant. On Vraxia Prime, the Children's Hospital faced its first major crisis. A disease outbreak swept through the lower districts. It was a common illness, easily treatable. Dr. Sarah Chen had treated hundreds of cases during her time there. But Sarah was gone. So were her colleagues. The Vraxian doctors tried to follow the protocols Sarah had left behind. They administered the standard vaccines. They provided the usual treatments. Children kept dying. I don't understand, the chief Vraxian doctor told his staff. We're following the procedures exactly. Why isn't it working? A junior doctor found notes in Sarah's old office. Dr. Chen modified the treatment based on Vraxian metabolism. The standard protocol wasn't enough. She was making adjustments for each patient based on factors we didn't know to measure. Can we recreate her methods? Not without years of research. She must have spent decades learning how our biology interacted with the medicine. She made it look simple, but it wasn't. It never was. 20 children died that week, 40 more the next. The disease spread to other Vraxian colonies. Everywhere doctors tried to help, everywhere they failed. The Vraxian government sent an emergency request to Earth. Please send medical assistance. Name your price. Earth's response was cold and professional. We no longer provide services to the Galactic Council or its member species. We wish you success in managing your own affairs. The Karathi Dominion faced different problems. Their faster-than-light communication network collapsed over 3 days. Messages that should have traveled instantly took hours or days. Some never arrived at all. Military coordination became impossible. Trade agreements failed because ships couldn't confirm destinations. The vast Karathi Empire started fracturing into isolated sectors. How did this happen? Demanded the Dominion leader. His chief engineer explained nervously. The network had a fundamental design flaw. Our scientists created it 400 years ago, before we understood quantum entanglement completely. The system should have collapsed decades ago. It only worked because human technicians were constantly compensating for the errors. Why didn't they tell us about the flaw? They did, leader. 17 times. They offered to help us redesign the network. We told them we didn't need primitive humans teaching us about technology we invented. The leader stared at the failing communication screen. How long to fix it? To properly redesign and rebuild. 15 years, maybe 20. The Karathi had called humans primitive. Now those primitives were the only ones who knew how to keep Karathi technology functioning. Captain Vorn steered his freighter through the asteroid belt of Sigma 7. He had run this trade route for 30 years. It had always been safe. Human peacekeepers patrolled the area, keeping pirates away. Not anymore. His sensors detected 3 ships approaching fast. Pirates. His cargo of medical supplies would bring a good price on the black market. He sent a distress call. In the old days, a human patrol ship would have arrived within minutes. Now, no one answered. He barely escaped. Many weren't so lucky. Across the galaxy, pirate attacks increased by 300%. The human peacekeeping force had been small, just 12,000 personnel. But they had covered vast territories efficiently. Without them, chaos spread. Trade routes became dangerous. Insurance costs increased by 500%. Shipping companies went bankrupt. Colonies stopped receiving supplies. An economic recession began. On Tellurian Minor, farmers stared at their dying crops. The human agricultural specialist who had helped them for 7 years was gone. She had taught them how to grow earth plants that thrived in Tellurian soil. She had modified their native crops to produce 3 times more food. Now the earth plants were dying. The modified crops weren't producing. The farmers tried everything they remembered her doing. Nothing worked. She made it look so easy, one farmer said desperately. She would walk through the fields, touch the plants, and know exactly what they needed. How did she know? Experience, another farmer replied sadly. Decades of experience we don't have. She came from a world where people grew food for 10,000 years. We've been farmers for 50 years. We're children playing at agriculture. The same words the council had used to dismiss humanity. Children playing at things they didn't understand. Tellurian Minor sent a message to Earth, not to the council, directly to Earth. We are starving. We have 50,000 people and food for 3 more months. We were wrong to stay silent when the council mocked you. We should have defended you. We didn't. We're sorry. Please help us. The response came within a day. Transport ships are on the way. We will bring food and send specialists to help you, not because of any treaty or obligation, because you asked respectfully, Bob, and because we choose to help those who show us basic dignity. 3 days later, human ships arrived at Tellurian Minor. They brought food. They brought agricultural specialists. They helped the farmers save their crops. Other species watched this happen. They sent their own requests to Earth. Most were demands disguised as requests. You must help us. You have an obligation. You cannot let people suffer. Earth's responses were identical. We have no obligations. You terminated them. Solve your own problems. The Grand Council met constantly now. Emergency session after emergency session. Species blamed each other, blamed humanity, blamed anyone except themselves. They're punishing us, Thexal insisted. This is a coordinated attack. They're deliberately withholding services to cause suffering. Torax, a junior Vraxian official, stood to speak. He had been researching humanity's actual contributions for weeks. What he found shocked him. With respect, Council Leader, humans aren't attacking us. They're simply absent. Everything that's failing was only working because they made it work. We didn't notice because they never demanded credit. They just served. Nonsense. We functioned perfectly well before humans arrived. Did we? Torax pulled up historical data. I've been comparing galactic stability before and after human integration. Medical crises were twice as common before humans shared their techniques. Interspecies conflicts were 3 times more frequent before human mediators. Infrastructure failures were constant before human engineers standardized maintenance protocols. He showed more data. Food security, trade efficiency, technological advancement rates. Every measure improved after humans joined the galactic community. They weren't copying our technology, Torax continued. We were learning from theirs. They weren't playing at peacekeeping. They were preventing wars. They weren't naive children. They were experienced professionals making us look competent. The chamber fell silent. Representatives stared at the data. It was undeniable. So what do we do? Someone asked quietly. We apologize, Torax said. We admit we were wrong. We asked them to return as equals, not servants. Never, Thexal roared. We do not apologize to primitives. They will return because they must. They need our markets. They need our protection. They need us more than we need them. 3 days later, an intelligence report arrived. A massive fleet was approaching from outside the galaxy. Not traders, not explorers, an invasion force. The Devourers had been detected at the galaxy's edge. They were machines that consumed entire civilizations for resources. Estimated time of arrival, 4 months. The Council had to coordinate a defense, had to unite dozens of species, had to organize military cooperation across thousands of light years. They tried. Their communication networks kept failing. Their coordination was terrible. Species didn't trust each other. Nobody knew how to make different military doctrines work together. Someone finally asked the question everyone was thinking. What would humanity do? The war started without warning. The Karathi Dominion attacked Scythene border colonies. They claimed the Scythene had violated territorial agreements. The Scythians said the Karathi were invading. In the past, human mediators would have stopped this before the first shot. They would have examined the agreements, talked to both sides, and found a peaceful solution. Human peacekeepers would have patrolled the disputed zone, preventing military buildup. Now, there were no mediators, no peacekeepers, just 2 angry species with weapons. Dr. Kelva fled her research station as Karathi ships approached. She managed to evacuate with 50 other Scythian researchers. They crammed into a small transport ship designed for 20 passengers. "Where do we go?" the pilot asked, desperately. "Every colony is either under attack or refusing refugees." Before humanity left, there had been refugee networks across the galaxy. Humans had established them, funded them, and staffed them. They had processed millions of refugees from natural disasters and conflicts. The system had worked smoothly. That system was gone now. The galaxy had forgotten how to care for people with nowhere to go. "Head for Tellurian space," Kelva said. "They received help from Earth. Maybe they'll help us." The Tellurians did help. They had learned something important from watching Earth respond to their plea. Kindness should be given freely, not withheld until someone proves worthy. But the Tellurians were a small species. They couldn't help everyone. Millions of refugees fled the war zone. Most found no shelter. The Grand Council's emergency session descended into chaos. Representatives shouted at each other. Accusations flew. Ancient grudges surfaced. "Order," Thexal demanded. "We must coordinate our response to the Karathi-Scythene conflict." "How?" someone shouted back. "Our military communication systems don't work properly. Our forces can't coordinate. We don't even have accurate intelligence because our sensor networks keep failing." A Xinthian representative spoke up. In previous conflicts, human liaison officers coordinated between different military forces. They were the only personnel that all factions trusted. Perhaps we could request their assistance just for this crisis? And show weakness? Thexal refused. "Never. We will solve this ourselves." They couldn't. The Karathi military used aggressive tactics that prioritized victory over civilian safety. The Scythian defended desperately, but their weapons were designed for precision, not overwhelming force. The conflict escalated rapidly. Worse, the war was spreading. Old territorial disputes flared up. Species that had peacefully coexisted for decades suddenly remembered ancient conflicts. The galaxy fractured. Torax compiled another report. He called it The Invisible Empire: Complete Analysis. It documented everything humanity had contributed. Every life saved by human doctors. Every war prevented by human diplomats. Every system maintained by human engineers. Every person fed by human agricultural specialists. The numbers were staggering. Humanity had touched billions of lives across the galaxy. They had done it quietly, without demanding recognition. They had woven themselves into the fabric of galactic civilization so completely that removing them caused everything to unravel. "This is our fault," Torax told Thexal privately. "We took their service for granted. We dismissed their contributions. We treated them like servants instead of partners." "You would have us grovel before a species barely 2 centuries old?" "I would have us survive," Torax replied, "because the Devourers are coming, and we cannot stop them without help." The Devourer fleet was massive. Scouts reported 3,000 ships, each the size of a moon. They moved through space, consuming asteroids, planets, and anything else in their path. The harvested matter fueled their journey to the next galaxy. They didn't communicate, didn't negotiate, they simply consumed. The Council tried to organize a defense, failed, tried again, failed again. Their fleets couldn't work together. Species didn't trust each other's commanders. Battle plans fell apart in execution. A simulation ran by Vraxian military strategists showed the expected outcome. The galaxy would fall in 6 months. Billions would die. Civilizations thousands of years old would cease to exist, unless something changed. "Send a delegation to Earth," someone finally suggested in the council chamber. "To beg?" Thexal asked with contempt. "To apologize," Torax corrected, "and to ask for help. Not as masters asking servants to return, but as equals asking allies for assistance." The debate lasted 3 days. Thexal and his supporters refused to admit error. They insisted humanity should help because helping was the right thing to do, because billions of lives were at stake, because anyone decent would set aside grudges to face a common threat. Torax stood on the 3rd day and delivered a speech that would be remembered for generations. "You say they should help because it's right," he began. "But was it right when we mocked them? Was it right when we dismissed their service? Was it right when we called them primitive children who should be grateful for scraps?" He looked around the chamber. "We taught humanity that kindness without respect means nothing. We taught them that service without acknowledgement leads to abuse. We taught them that allowing others to take advantage is not virtue, it's weakness. And now we're shocked that they learned our lesson?" "Billions will die," someone protested. "Yes," Torax agreed sadly, "and they will die because we valued our pride more than their humanity. They served us for 200 years. They asked only for basic respect. We laughed at them. Now we expect them to forget that and save us anyway?" He shook his head. "If they did, we would learn nothing. We would treat them the same way again. Maybe humanity knows that. Maybe that's why they're staying home." Silence filled the chamber. "But there is a solution," Torax continued. "We can give them what we should have given from the beginning. Respect, recognition, equal partnership. Not because it saves us, but because it's what they earned and we wrongly withheld. If we do this sincerely, perhaps they will help. If not, then at least we will die knowing we finally did the right thing." The vote was close, 44-6, just enough to approve sending a delegation to Earth. Thexal and 5 other representatives voted no. They still believed humanity should serve without question. Still believed age and power mattered more than contribution and character. The others had finally learned what humanity had been teaching by example all along. That civilization was built on dignity given freely to all. Sujin Park received the Council's request for a meeting. Earth's government debated for a week. Some wanted to refuse. The galaxy had made its choice. Let them face the consequences. But others argued that helping wasn't about what the galaxy deserved. It was about who humanity wanted to be. Prime Minister Jiwoo Kim made the final decision. "We'll meet with them. We'll hear what they have to say. But we will not go back to being invisible servants. Never again." The delegation arrived on Earth. Not on the Council station, not in neutral territory. On Earth, they came as visitors to humanity's home. Thexal was not among them. Torax led the delegation instead. He had been promoted rapidly as the crisis grew. His willingness to speak truth had made him valuable in desperate times. He stood in the negotiation chamber and looked at the humans across the table. Ambassador Park, Prime Minister Kim, Admiral Yoon, Dr. Chen, ordinary people who had done extraordinary things, people his civilization had called primitives. "We were wrong," Torax said. Those 3 words seemed to hurt him physically, but he said them anyway. "We were blind and arrogant and wrong. We dismissed your contributions. We mocked your service. We demanded gratitude while showing none ourselves. We treated you as servants when you deserved to be honored as the best among us." He paused. "And now, we come to ask for help we don't deserve. Not as masters commanding servants, as failures begging forgiveness from those we wronged." The chamber was silent. Then Ji-Woo Kim spoke. "What do you offer in return?" Ji-Woo Kim studied the alien delegation. She saw genuine regret in Torax's eyes. But regret wasn't enough. The galaxy needed to change, not just apologize. "Here are Earth's terms," she said calmly. "First, full council membership with veto power, not as a favor, but as recognition of our contributions. Second, financial reparations paid to the families of every human who lost income or opportunity during the withdrawal. Third, a public acknowledgement of humanity's contributions over the past 200 years. Fourth, formal written apologies from every species that voted for our demotion." Torax nodded slowly. "I will present these terms to the council." "There's one more term," Admiral Yoon added. "When this crisis ends, we establish new council principles. Every species gets respect regardless of age or power. Contribution matters more than seniority. Service is honored, not exploited. These principles become law." "Some species will refuse," Torax warned. "Then they can defend themselves," Ji-Woo replied. "We're not negotiating. Accept all terms or we stay home. The choice is yours." The delegation returned to the council. The debate was fierce. Thexal called the terms extortion. He demanded the council refuse. Torax stood and responded. "They ask only for what we should have given freely: respect, recognition, basic dignity. We nearly destroyed our civilization because we couldn't offer these simple things to those who served us best. If we reject these terms, we reject our only hope of survival. But more than that, we reject the chance to become better than we are." A Xinthian representative spoke up. "I was wrong about humanity. I called them naive children. They're not children. They're teachers. And we've been terrible students." One by one, representatives who had mocked humanity stood and admitted their errors. Not all of them. Thexal and his closest allies remained defiant. But enough changed their minds. The vote was 44-6. The same 6 who had voted against sending the delegation now voted against accepting Earth's terms. The measure passed. Within days, human forces mobilized. Not just military ships, but hospital ships, supply vessels, and communication coordination platforms. Admiral Yoon commanded the combined fleet from humanity's flagship, Unity's Promise. The name was not subtle. It promised what the old council station, Unity 7, had failed to deliver. True unity based on mutual respect. The first challenge was making the different species work together. The Karathi wanted aggressive tactics. The Scythian preferred defensive strategies. The Vraxians insisted on complex maneuvers. Everyone thought their way was best. "Listen carefully," Admiral Yoon told the assembled commanders. "You've been fighting each other for 6 months. It failed. Now you'll do it humanity's way. Not because we're superior, but because our way works. We've spent 2 centuries making different species cooperate. We know how to do this." A Karathi commander objected. "Your military is barely 200 years old. Our tactics have been refined for 4,000 years. "Then why are you losing?" Yoon asked bluntly. "Your 4,000-year-old tactics assume everyone fights like you do. They don't. Humanity's tactics assume diversity and turn it into strength. Each species will fight according to its nature, but will coordinate so those different approaches support each other instead of causing chaos. She pulled up tactical displays. Korathi forces will form our aggressive front lines. Your natural aggression becomes our spear. Scythene forces will provide precision support and defense. Your careful nature becomes our shield. Vraxian forces will handle complex maneuvers and flanking. Your sophisticated tactics become our strategy. Every species contributes what they do best. It was the same principle humanity had applied everywhere. Find the strength in each person or species and use it. Don't force everyone into the same mold. The combined fleet moved to intercept the Devourers. Human coordination made them efficient. Human combat doctrine made them effective. But it was human values that made them victorious. The first battle tested everything. Devourer ships were massive and powerful. They didn't care about casualties. They just consumed and advanced. The Korathi wanted to charge directly at them. Yoon stopped them. We're not here to prove who's bravest. We're here to protect people. Korathi fleet, form defensive positions around the refugee convoy. Defensive? We're warriors, not guards. You're protectors, Yoon corrected. The convoy holds 2 million refugees. They need your strength. Is protecting the weak less honorable than fighting the strong? The Korathi commander paused. Then he moved his ships into position. We will guard them with our lives. The Scythene fleet's precision weapons targeted Devourer ship weapons systems. They didn't destroy the massive vessels, but they disabled their ability to harvest matter. The Vraxian fleet used sophisticated maneuvers to lead Devourer forces into traps. And humanity held everything together. Human ships were everywhere, coordinating, communicating, adapting the plan as situations changed. One critical moment came when a Devourer fleet threatened a Vraxian colony. The planet held 30 million people. Evacuating them was impossible in the time available. We need to stop them here, the Vraxian commander said. But my fleet isn't strong enough. Human Third Fleet will support you, Yoon announced. That will leave the main battle group undermanned. Admiral, if we lose there, we lose everything. And if we abandon Vraxia Prime, 30 million people die. That's not acceptable. We find another way. She rerouted forces, adjusted tactics, and somehow made it work. The main battle group held. Vraxia Prime was saved. 30 million people lived because humanity believed protecting others mattered more than following the optimal battle plan. The Vraxians noticed. So did everyone else. The turning point came in the Battle of 7 Stars. 7 Devourer motherships converged on the Council Station Unity 7. If it fell, galactic coordination would collapse. Admiral Yoon faced an impossible choice. She had enough forces to either stop the Devourers or evacuate the station. Not both. Evacuate, she ordered. All ships, begin evacuation procedures immediately. Admiral, we can stop them if we commit everything to combat. And lose thousands of ships and crews. No. People before victories. Lives before stations. We save who we can and fall back to regroup. The evacuation succeeded. Unity 7 fell, but everyone escaped. The fleet retreated in good order. In the temporary command center on a Tellurian station, the Allied commanders expected humanity to mourn the loss. Instead, Yoon smiled. We just won, she announced. We lost the station. We saved every person on it. That's victory. The station is metal and power systems. We can rebuild it. People can't be replaced. She pulled up new tactical displays. And while the Devourers wasted time consuming the station, we repositioned for a counterattack. They expect us to be demoralized. They're wrong. The counterattack caught the Devourers completely unprepared. They were machines optimized for consuming stationary resources. They didn't understand an enemy that valued people over territory, didn't understand forces that would sacrifice tactical advantages to save civilians, didn't understand that retreat could be preparation for victory instead of admission of defeat. The combined fleet destroyed 4 of the 7 motherships, crippled the other 3. The Devourer invasion collapsed, but humanity didn't pursue the fleeing ships to destruction. Instead, Yoon opened communication channels, not to gloat, to negotiate. "You need resources," she told the Devourer artificial intelligence. "We can provide territorial boundaries where you can harvest without threatening inhabited systems. We can establish trade agreements for the materials you need. There's no reason for this conflict to continue." The Devourers considered. They had never encountered species that offered cooperation instead of just fighting. After 3 days of communication, they agreed to territorial boundaries and resource sharing. The war ended not with total victory, but with peace. It was the most human solution possible. The new Grand Galactic Council formed 6 months later. Earth held a permanent seat with veto power, but more importantly, the Council operated on new principles. Every species received respect. Contribution mattered more than age. Service was honored. Ambassador Park stood to deliver Earth's first official address to the new council. "We never wanted power over you. We wanted to work beside you. Every species has value. Every contribution matters. That includes ours." She looked around the chamber. "You called us primitives. Maybe we are. We're primitives who believe in dignity. We're primitives who think every life has value. We're primitives who would rather protect the weak than dominate the strong. If that's primitive, then we'll proudly remain primitive forever." The council chamber erupted in approval. Not polite acknowledgement, genuine respect. Thexol was no longer on the council. He had been removed by his own people, replaced by Thorax. Some species never learned, but enough did. Enough changed. Enough grew. 1 year later, the galaxy was rebuilding. Human doctors returned to frontier hospitals. Human engineers maintained infrastructure. Human peacekeepers patrolled trade routes. Human teachers educated students from a dozen species. But now they worked as partners, not servants. They were thanked, not dismissed. They were valued, not overlooked. Dr. Sarah Chen worked alongside her Vraxian colleagues in the new children's hospital on Vraxia Prime. They were equals now, friends. The Vraxians learned eagerly, and Sarah taught gladly. Captain Vorn ran his trade routes safely again. Human and alien peacekeepers worked together, making space secure for everyone. Dr. Kelva collaborated with human researchers on new vaccines. They published papers together, shared credit equally, and made discoveries neither could have achieved alone. The galaxy hadn't become perfect. Arguments still happened, conflicts still arose, but now there were systems in place to handle them. More importantly, there was mutual respect. One evening, Sujin Park stood on Earth looking up at the stars. Minjun joined her. "Do you think they've really learned?" he asked. "Some have," she replied. "Some never will, but enough learned. That's all we can ask for." Was it worth it? The withdrawal, the suffering, everything? Sujin considered the question carefully. "We didn't withdraw to punish them. We withdrew to teach them, to show them what they were taking for granted, to demonstrate that dignity isn't optional, it's essential. Yes, it was worth it. Not because we gained power, but because we established a principle. Respect is not earned through age or strength. It's given freely to all, or it's worthless." She smiled. "They called us primitives who should be grateful. We showed them what civilization actually means. Not power, not age, not technology. Dignity freely given to all. That's our legacy. That's what humanity brought to the stars." Minjun looked up at the galaxy humanity had changed forever. "They'll remember this for 1,000 years. Longer," Sujin predicted, "because we didn't just save them. We showed them a better way to live. That's the kind of lesson that echoes through history. Above them, Ships from 100 species traveled peaceful routes protected by cooperation. Hospitals healed patients with techniques shared freely. Children of different species learned together. The galaxy thrived not through dominance, but through partnership. Humanity had taken their place among the stars, not as servants, not as masters. As equals who reminded everyone what equality actually meant. And that changed everything.